So, welcome back to Smiley's. This is going to be part two of our discussion about The God is Not Willing, the first book in the Witness trilogy. We are discussing the books with our friend MeastRo, and joining me is again Lee. Hi, Lee.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome back, Ro. So,
Hi there. Yeah.
shall we continue with the second storyline, the
Sure.
Malazan Marines storyline? Yeah. So,
Okay.
what's your first impression, overall impression after finishing the book?
Well, I mean, I will admit that it was great to be back with squads after the Crippled God, because I read the last three novels, and the squad chemistry wasn't explored all that much in those three books, and it was nice to get back to them, to get back to all the insane things they do, the weird obsessions they have, and the way they pretend to be dumber than they actually are, and all that. And that was definitely one of the highlights of this book, I think. And yeah, I did like them. While I do have some things that I didn't like, but overall it was fun.
Yeah. What did you think, Lee? Are you paid attention to this storyline, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's no secret that I particularly like the Marines in this book. Um, for the most part, some of them were just like somewhat forgettable. Like if you ask me what the fuck did like Say No or Clayplate do in this book, or like I don't know, even Drillbent, for instance, I probably wouldn't remember to tell you. But like Stillwater or Ranix or Benger or Oams or Spindle, which I forgot completely, or my beloved Gruff. Yeah, I could probably tell you because, well, they are most of them. If you're not into the humor so much, it can feel a bit juvenile, which it kind of is sometimes. But I like the humor a lot in this book. I found myself laughing a lot more than I otherwise would. One thing that's quite prevalent in this book is it's very vulgar. You may have noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ran the book through an ebook, and The Gods Not Willing has about like 200 instances of the use of the word fuck
Yeah.
or something thereabouts, which is like ridiculous. And most of those come from Marines or Demask. And like, okay, the first like chapter starts off with Oams and like Culverwood, and he just goes fuck this and fuck that and fuck this and fuck that. But if that was a fuck, I'll fucking take it. So yeah, if you're into this kind of humor, the marine humor from like the Malazan Book of the Fallen, you're gonna love this, and I did. I'm guilty of it. I'm sorry. But I can also appreciate some of the criticisms and concerns that they are a bit too indestructible and too self-righteous and too I'm a Malazan Marine, fuck impossible, which is what Benger actually says, and that sounds super cringy to say out loud. Holy shit. And there's also the "Do you give a shit" epigraph. It
Yeah.
There's a very strong gear towards self righteousness among the Marines, which when contrasted to the things that they do or used to do like 10 years ago, and what a certain savior of the realm has done, feels a bit off.
I
But
mean,
who am I? Who am I to judge?
I mean, you should probably attribute all this, all this self-righteousness because that's what the savior and emperor is teaching them. You know, that's the priority of the empire now to take in refugees and be nice. So things have changed in 10 years, probably. No.
We'll get to that. I would hear your thoughts first before I go on.
Right. So I was not extremely happy to see these Marines in my first read because that was I don't know. I'm used to having the lines and dialogues not being repeated, and here there are at least four times people say we take in refugees, and what kind of an empire refuses to help people, and we are in the service industry and
Yeah.
things like that. Which I don't know. Once, twice is fine, but at the fourth repetition, I was sort of out of it. This is not the way. This is not the way I'm used to reading Malazan books. But then in one way, probably the fault is that I'm trying to expect to read more Book of the Fallen, and this is a completely new series with a new voice, with a new type of writing style, maybe. So maybe it was unfair on my part to expect that kind of subtle themes here. Maybe
Subtlety is definitely lost on the whatever narrator
subtleties.
this is. And I'll get
Yeah,
to
that's
that
true.
later. So yeah, Ro, what about you? What do you think? Because I remember quite distinctly you were unhappy
Oh
with some
yeah,
Marines.
yes. Let's
Yeah.
listen to Rose complaints. Yeah.
Yeah, but before that, I want to agree with one thing you said, Lee. Some of them stood out to me. Some of them were pretty good, like Oams, Stillwater, Gruff, even Gruff, and all his peculiar mannerisms, and Spindle, of course. But others like Say No, Daint, Given Loud. Some of them I had no idea what they were doing. They were just there,
Daint,
and
Daint and Given Loud were amazing. They are the
were
ones
they?
who are completing each other's sentences. They were like a tiny divers. They spoke the same way and they said the same things.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I guess my point is, I wanted some of them to be normal in the sense that I wanted to see them uh, behave as a mature
Yeah,
adult, I guess, because after a point it gets a little boring. It does. I mean, perhaps boring is the wrong word. The repetition is hard to digest. So let me go back to the bridge burners. That was the first time we were introduced to squads and the squad chemistry thing. And when it happened for the first time, it was amazing. We had
yeah.
Quick Ben, Kalam, Trots, Mallet, Whiskey Jack, Fiddler, the original squad, and this guy Hedge as well. And it was amazing to see what they did, how innovative they were, and the sheer audacity at times, and the way they just handled things. It was when we were exposed to it for the first time, it gave me that sense of awe, and I loved reading about them. And which is why when we transitioned to the Bone Hunters next, initially it was a bit off. I needed some time to gel with the Bone Hunters, and that's the second time we are exposed to squads, right? And after a while, it took some time, but after a while, I guess I warmed up to the Bone Hunters as well. And this time, the difference was that we were with them through their that formative journey they take, where they actually become a unit, a single unit, instead of different squads and all that. The same thing which happens to the bridge burners in Barako at the beginning, when they actually become one unit, a family as such. And experiencing that with the Bone Hunters, it was a different take, and I loved it. Towards the end, I was a hardcore fan of the Bone Hunters and Hail the Marines and all that, and all that was amazing again. But now, this is the third time we are introduced to a Marine group, and this time it's it feels like it's more of the same. And in some ways, I'm not a huge fan of that, especially because all of them are just their obsessions, the way they just randomly talk about something, especially when someone asks a question, they don't reply normally, and then they reply something, they talk about something else. I know this happens in real life, but there's a limit, and I think the Marines are crossing that limit. And it was annoying to read some of their interactions. And then the other thing about how indestructible they were. So this comes back to the theme I was talking about in the last episode, where I was saying that actions have consequences, and the way these Marines act with impunity and somehow escape consequences, like there is no damage in terms of they don't suffer permanent damage, or they don't have anything, they don't pay for for all the things that they do. Even Benger, who was exposed to Otiterol, somehow towards the end he still gained a little bit of ability to use sorcery again, and all that was it was oh, I don't know. I was not a huge fan of it. I wanted to see at least one of them die, and I wanted to see them pay for the things they do. And as Lee said, I'm a Marine. Fuck what's impossible. That's oh come on. It's hard to digest, and it's not what I wanted to see. I just wanted them to have the same to be treated the same way as other characters whose actions had consequences, like Damask, for example. And not just Damask, in general, everyone probably. And I don't remember, this is a common theme in Malazan, right? Everyone faces consequences for their actions, and somehow these Marines are just they steal the show and they come out on top. And even if they do make mistakes, those mistakes somehow end up being the right thing or something. And I don't know, I just hate that they're so perfect, I guess.
Mm,
Sorry,
What?
I got carried away.
No problem. What was the thing about? Sorry, when they make mistakes, was there some specific thing you had in mind?
Um,
Beyond Stillwater robbing an either grave in Neverland, which you really shouldn't.
yeah,
And then
that
she
and
gets this scarf to haunt her, isn't it? She has.
yeah, yeah, that happens. And no, by mistakes, I mean they don't plan everything, right? So somehow they go impromptu, they just do something, and somehow it just turns out to be the right thing to do and helps them gain the upper hand or something, right? You
Like
get what I
the
mean?
Sarlis.
Um, no, not like
No,
that. I'm just saying.
Ohms with
No, no, no,
the.
no, 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 no.
Sorry,
What
sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
saying is, whatever they do, regardless of whether it makes sense or not, somehow ends up benefiting them. Even if it's not planned, or even if they're just doing something for the sake of it, somehow it doesn't have any repercussions. I can't think of any
Okay.
specific incident to bring this up, but it happens in day to day life, in their day to day life.
Hmm.
Uh, Perhaps this. I don't know. I can't think of an
No,
example.
no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. No, I was just thinking that the way they have been written here, being that over the top, is because they are actually that powerful. They are actually that, what do you call, fuck impossible. Is probably not something out of the way for them. It was six people destroying an entire tableau charge and things like that. So they have reached that level of superpowered. All what? Who is whispering?
No, no, no. Carry on.
Right. I'll let you have your turn. Just give me a minute. So I believe that they have reached that level of superpowered in everything with their magic and their abilities and their planning and all that. So they are ultra refined and they're able to do whatever they want to do. They're able to achieve whatever they just have to decide on it and they're able to do it. And I don't. That's probably the reason why they've been written in such a ridiculous, goofy manner with all the I don't know, all the inappropriate jokes and all the inappropriate. It was weird. Their interactions are quite weird, but then maybe they've reached one level of power, so they no longer can behave normally with each other or with anyone else. So, no, no, I really felt that when I was reading this time, it has to be intentional that they written this in this manner because, yeah, as you say, the bridge burners were normal, the bone hunters were sort of okay with the Korik smiles things which start off, it starts off in a sort of weird way and then we warm up to them. And here again, I think there is still some warming up for us to do. And I think there is still time for us to watch them get some consequences for everything they're doing now, you know.
I mean, the bridge burners weren't normal. They were also insane, but because it was
Yeah.
the first time and it was, when we were all fresh green readers, it was
Yeah.
all awesome and all that. So, yeah, now that this is happening for the third time, the same effect isn't there anymore.
Yeah, and I
I
think that's
think
why it has to be deliberate the way these guys have been written here. That's how I felt it, at least this time, because this is not fine, isn't it? No matter how much you say the military are cooped up together and they're banging each other and all that, this is a little extra, whatever. Yeah, yeah, Lee, sorry.
I think part of the Bridgeburners thing is selection bias because we see them after the fall of Pale, and I
Yeah.
think Fid says it to Hedge at some point that we were a bunch of lawless fucking idiots. We were criminals. We were like made up of sociopaths. We only see them fondly because we were brothers and sisters in arms. And there was like instead of 1,300 of us, there were 30 of us after Pale, and only like the best of the best made it to the end because well they weren't assholes and they managed to survive. But people like Ash, for instance, the guy from End of Knives
Yeah,
who
yes,
has
yes.
an Aspen race, or Monkrat, for instance, they're dipshits, right?
Yeah.
And even like Smiles or Sorry, for instance, have some vague semblance of a backstory that makes them empathetic because Smiles has her sister who was sacrificed to Male. Sorry has her whole possession thing. Stillwater is just a spoiled bitch from
No,
Unta.
Stillwater was forced to wear dresses and she was part of a noble family. And okay,
Oh
let us
no!
not judge Stillwater,
Woe is me.
Let's
No,
not.
no, I love Stillwater. I really do like Stillwater, but the point is, they don't have like the redeeming qualities of the other characters like used to. Like Fiddler has been through so much shit and so much woe, and he still goes on because well, compassion, huh? Like Quick is dastardly and cunning, but he's working for a greater cause, like he'll burn. And then you have people like Oams who are just there, or well, Oams didn't even do anything. Stillwater, who just killed the guy for a corner apartment because she liked the window better.
Oh, that was,
Or
yeah, yeah.
like, what else? Who else is there that has like some weird shit in the past?
From the past? I don't know. Because we don't explore the past of most of these
Yeah,
fellas
that is
here.
true. And like, their actions don't correlate from like them being nobodies 10 years ago. Like, what the fuck? Where did you come from? We know where Spindle came from. We know where Monkrat came from. We can sort of extrapolate where Gruff came from. But what the fuck? Are you telling me that this like Thoreau's Deshard chick became like a master assassin in 10 years while being on the spectrum and killing people for having like corner apartments and stuff?
See, maybe she was already an assassin back then, and with the opening of the new warrants, she's able to become I mean, she was able to invent this mage assassin thing. See,
Yeah.
10 years is when they have reached being Marines. They were not like babies 10 years ago. They were probably inside the army, and they must have been at different
Okay.
levels already.
I don't disagree. What I disagree with is that the Malazan army under Malik in the first few years was the same that we saw before, right? There were cutthroats, there were criminals, there were claws, there were whatever. There was some sort of brotherhood and banding with like Bendan or Shuth, but for the most part, they were still the same old dipshits that made up the squads and companies and legions and armies with which the Malazans conquered a whole bunch of continents, and they were pretty much just in it for the money and not much else. Like Hector says this whole thing about like another day soldiering, another day to
Soldiering.
Weber's coin.
Yeah, yeah.
It's they weren't here because of some greater ideal to save like the people and the refugees, and that suddenly changing at the snap of a button, or like not a button, 10 years, but like it changing so quickly with little to no explanation beyond. Oh yeah, this guy who had like 10,000 people killed for like because he's a dipshit that's manipulative, and then also orchestrated the pogrom against the very refugees he's claiming now to protect. Somehow, for some goddamn reason, got it in his head. I'm going to make an army that is very compassionate towards everyone else because that will make me look like a good guy when I'm in truth an imperialist scumbag. Which, okay, works, but like, who the fuck cares about PR? They're the Malazan Empire. Everybody that they're close to knows them as like the imperialist bad guys in this situation. They're not here because they should be here. They conquered this land a few generations ago at most. The thing that ticks me off the most regarding this is Oams' comment about the claw not going this far, which, okay. Uh, Oams is probably intended to be a Talon, right? And he says that no, the claw doesn't go this far, doesn't do internal policing, and not that deep anyway. So Kellan Ved was assassinated by Lassine, who was a claw. The claw was involved in the assassination because, you know,
Yeah,
Coil and the Black Glove and Malik's claws and Possum and all of that. Where the fuck were the Talons in those assassinations?
the
Nowhere.
talents
So
were
what
busy.
fucking level of internal like stuff is above the Emperor? Like, is Oams off to go kill like Sadathrone? Is that what's going on? Like,
The
how
thing
much
is,
deeper does the internal thing go?
do you have a theory on Ohms, bro?
Not really, not apart from what we're already discussing. No.
No, the thing is because he
Except that,
mentions, yeah,
except that I believe that Ohms is the only one from that group who's not a mage.
I think so, yeah.
hmm
And Gruff,
apart from Gruff,
but
yeah, yeah.
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 The thing is, sorry, Ohms considers both, isn't it? Like there is nothing hanging from a leather string or nothing hanging from a silver chain, and
Mm.
so maybe he used to be in the Talon and then he came to the Claw, and now he's a freelancer or a Night
Does
Blade
he
or
want to
something.
kill himself?
What? No, once the
Why would
Talons
he
got
join the claw
disbanded,
when being
or
a Talon?
why not?
Because the claws make a living off of hunting Talons. It's kind of the point.
See, once he goes to that side, maybe he was a double agent. Like it's not impossible to think that. I mean, why should it be specified that nothing is hanging from these two separate things, isn't it? Both are
Well,
mentioned. So
because
I just, yeah,
Bowden's, for example, is leather. Tavor's is silver, I think, or
is that
gold.
right?
Tavor's
Yes,
gold.
okay.
I think it's just a denomination of rank, not like necessarily a different organization.
hmm Right. So maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
he's not a
But
claw,
what I'm
like he
getting at,
says.
yeah. Well, maybe he's a claw. Who knows? Everyone seems to think he's a claw. What I'm getting at is like this. It shouldn't because, for instance, it's not these like values are completely alien to the Malazans, right? We had Dassam. Dassam said the exact same thing. Like soldiers and armor does not protect you. It protects like it doesn't. It protects your body, but not your soul, and like it's up to you to be a good guy and
Who
like
said that? Tell
be
me who says that?
Dassam. Dassam
No,
Ulgor.
no,
No.
that was Itkovian telling the recruit.
Well, no. What I mean is like armor doesn't. Like,
We
it's like a
provide
quote
you
from
armor
Dassam.
for your body, but an armor for your soul is something that you need to fashion it yourself or something like that.
Okay, I might be conflating the two, but anyway, the point is like it says something about armor and how soldiers must enforce their own like.
Oh,
They should
hang
never use
on.
their. You get the
Wait.
point.
You're talking about the exchange between Spindle and Monkrat in Toll the Hounds, where they talk about what the Dasim said.
Probably, I don't remember the exact
What
quote.
happens there, Ro?
Okay, so in Toll the Hounds, Spindle meets Monkrat. Monkrat is he's with Graditan, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And he's he is Spindle says, "Let's come in, let's save these children" or something, and Monkrat's he's given up being a soldier. He's
yeah,
just there, he's just doing something, and Spindle is kind of shocked because he thought that Monkrat was once a bridge burner, and now he's deserted. He has no aim. He's forgotten what it means to be a soldier. He's forgotten the the vows they take when they become a soldier. Not wow, but
yeah,
just the
yeah,
general principles they follow as a soldier. And this shocks Spindle, and he talks about certain the code of conduct which was initiated by Dasam back in the day, and that is where
Yeah.
Dasam says whatever Lee said, I think. And
So yeah,
after
like.
that, Spindle manages to
Mhm.
convince Monkrat to, put his chin up and do the right thing.
yeah.
So it's not like these values are completely alien to Malazans. It's not like they've never heard of like be good because the commander said so, but not to this fucking extent of like putting yourself between a flood and like refugees and dying and stuff. Which, for one, is incredibly hubristic. Like, just take them and put them into a war and dig them away rather than trying to stop the flood alone. But
Yeah,
But
whatever.
not everyone has access to amenable warrants. They
yeah,
discuss that.
yeah. It was discussed in the book, but I don't know. Like they could have done it sooner, is what I feel.
They did not know. They did not know that the flood is coming. But
Uh,
yeah, this level of magical abilities they did not know is, yeah, I know.
mm. But
Anyway,
So
I was
persisting in
reminded
this,
of one thing.
yeah, yeah.
That whole Sarless thing. Yeah, I didn't know why it didn't strike me like a few minutes ago, but that was what I meant when I said somehow they bullshit, but then that bullshit turns out to be working. It turns out to achieve something towards their favor. And in case of the whole healing episode, we don't know how much control Benger had, but I believe that once Rake entered the scene, and along with Rake, all the other spirits that were assailing Rake or chasing and hunting Rake, whatever, when that happened, that was not intended, and I think Benger lost control when those guys came in, and somehow no one died. There was no consequence to that. Like they just faced off an entire army somehow. Anix was using what and something she was using fire, Telan or Telas or
Yeah,
Ter, I
yeah.
think, and Stillwater had that magical scarf witch who somehow came and saved the day, and that's that. Even though the situation went, it spiraled out of their control, and they just bullshitted. Somehow they just escaped and they were back home, all safe. Silas healed, and
job
that's
well
it. We move
done.
on to the next day as if nothing happened. So I didn't like that. I just wanted more consequences to be there.
So, one little thing I have to add, by the way, about bullshitting is Benger thinks about High Denul, and at
Mm,
some point, his monologue literally just says that Denul can literally just break natural laws and
mm,
defy entropy itself. Like, okay, let's just throw like the law of conservation of matter and entropy and like thermodynamics out the fucking window because we
oh,
have magic, motherfucker. And like, there can be no notion of consequences if they can literally just conjure a fucking pair of limbs from thin air. Just like, yeah, you're healed now. It's one of the things I really didn't quite enjoy about the new Warrens and how they're used here is that they're super powerful, but they also break continuity that we knew from like old things. Because the difference between Holds and Warrens is that Holds are really fucking powerful, but they're also really, really unpredictable and primal.
mm,
Here, it doesn't feel like anyone's struggling to control the Warrens. It's just like maybe sometimes they can be not powerful enough to stop the flood, for instance. But it's not like they go apeshit, like they falter somehow and they start blasting 3 different mages in the formation and everyone dies together. It's just like they fall, they stop casting, the Warren just fizzles out of existence, and then they get flooded and die.
Do you know what I think the difference is between the warrants we have been seeing and these current warrants? I think magic has become more available in this world. So more and more
Definitely, I
people are
think,
able to access it. And so
yeah,
that is going to change the face of it. Like, as you say, it was unpredictable. And then the warrants came and became slightly more regulated and slightly more predictable. Things are changing here too. And we have not yet seen it. It's been only, what, 10 years. So all we're seeing is
for
that
sure.
the ones who have got the good access, the ones who are able to manipulate their magic are ending up in positions like the Marines, right? So I think we have to wait and watch what the consequences are going to be.
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
the Tabler are not going to use magic against them, they are resistant, but they are going to meet other armies which will have almost equivalent amounts of magical abilities, maybe.
Well, they did have like Nestilash, right? The warlock, and like someone killed him somehow. Was it Oams?
Stillwater.
Oh, still, yeah, okay.
Who, the scab guy within the tent? Or that one?
No, no, the Nestilash, the warlock, the
The one
Sandy was he?
who
I don't
was
remember at all.
I don't, I'm not getting the name, sorry.
no, the guy who when Still goes to raid what is presumably Rulad's tomb,
Yeah.
um he
Oh
meets
yeah, the
that guy.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
the hound eats him up, isn't it?
yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of that hound,
Yeah,
oh, you
pallid.
were gonna say something?
No, 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 nothing.
Okay, so from what I remember, Pallid was a hound of light and not a hound of shadow.
Well,
Oh my god, is that right?
Yeah,
no, yes, no, sort of, kinda.
Pallid attacked the 5 hounds of shadow at the end of Toll the Hounds. I'm sure
No.
of this. I'm sure
Pallid
Pallid
was
was a hound of
new.
light.
Okay,
No,
the wiki says Pallid was a new hound of shadow.
He's definitely white. He's not like the other hounds, but um, eh,
no.
it's
See,
not.
what my point is, when we were first introduced to Pallid after Karsa killed those two. No, no. After
Very good.
Ganos freed those 2 hounds.
Yeah.
Shadow Throne presumably replaced them with 2 hounds of light. Although it was not revealed whether he called them, whether they were in his control or whether they just came on their own. That wasn't entirely sure.
Hmm.
And they were with him for some time, but then towards the end of Toll the Hounds, they turned on the other Hounds of Shadows, the other
Mhm.
5. But
Yeah,
now they're back again with Shadow Throne. I mean, why would Shadow Throne want them again?
it's not clear because like the Hounds of Light were sent by Kadagar, who's dead. So it's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
clear like what semblance of control Seraphim has over them now, if any. I don't know.
yeah. So yeah, that was weird.
But yeah, Palad's there, and he needs a bath. So
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and she imagines she's going to get a bigger stick for him next
All
time.
right,
Yeah.
let's talk Stillwater. I can okay. All
Oh yeah,
right.
go on. I'm ready to listen.
I like Stillwater. It's my guilty pleasure because she's definitely not like the kind of person you'd otherwise root for. She
Hmm.
is, well, I mean, she's all but confirmed that she's on the spectrum. So judging her for her lack of social ability is like pretentious and
Yeah,
insensitive. But like I said, like this is the third time I'm bringing this up that she killed someone for a fucking corner apartment. But like
Yeah.
it's you can't just say that like yeah she just did that because that's what she does like no she killed a fucking guy for like no other reason than because she liked her like uh, and it's not like the only guy she's ever killed throughout the book like a lot of different like poor ex and like oftentimes they're gonna end up dead and there's also the scarf witch because I don't remember at all the scarf spirit and then Cotillion even goes as far as to say that she reminds him of Sorry, but not exactly. Which, okay, I don't know how you can make that comparison, Mister
Mr.
Cotillion.
Cotillion.
Have you looked at her? Have you seen her?
No, he immediately says on second thought, nothing at all. Like sorry.
Yeah,
So
and there's also the whole Ohms is a claw. There's the Stillwater's the mage assassin, and she's like the first and only.
yeah,
Um, it's I still don't know if any of it is an act or if it's all of it is how she is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have doubts about that row? That is she having an act?
Uh, I'm not able to make up my mind.
Okay.
I mean, as in Malazan, this is kind of common. Like you think they're doing, you think they don't know something, but then the next POV will be them, and then they knew it, but they still pretended as though they didn't know it. This kind of a trope is it's common in Malazan,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Sometimes Stillwater, like sometimes she feels too dumb to be actually dumb. I don't mean this in any offensive manner or anything. It sometimes it feels it comes across as she's pretending, she's bullshitting. But at other times it feels genuine. So I don't know. I'm not able to make up my mind.
To me specifically, I don't think she's putting up an act or anything, because this is how she is. She's being the only times when you can start doubting her is when she tells all these deliberate lies that she has never stolen from a tomb, and she would never, she doesn't have magical abilities and things like that. She has willful lying, but she's not putting up an act about the type of person she is. Like all her, pretending not to understand social cues and all that. I don't think those are pretenses. I don't.
Oh
I
no, no, no,
really
no,
think,
no,
yeah.
no.
So
Yeah.
those things are not an act. So the
I
only
think
thing
she
I would
thinks
say
about
is,
she
hmm?
thinks about puns and like sometimes people tell puns and people laugh and other times they get knifed. Like I even remember one time like in a bar and like it's like
And the thing is,
it's in her
the
internal
thought.
monologue, so it can't really be an act when she
Yeah,
thinks it.
that's how I thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thought continues. After like five
Yeah,
pages of some action,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
just mid sentence the thought continues, and
Yes,
oh,
yes.
that was
Yeah.
extremely good to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
was expecting that she's the one who knifed the guy for making a pun, but it's not her.
No, it's Bliss, but we'll talk about Bliss later.
Was that
Okay.
Bliss?
Bliss
Okay.
Rowley, the sergeant, the master sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with her?
There
I
was like,
don't.
a conversation
Oh,
with Spindle where she was talking about like some sergeant or who was like running slavery, and
oh
then she
yes.
just goes like, "Oh yeah, some guy found her in the woods and like knifed him because he was a native and he did like a slaving business." Then they talk for like a page, and then she's like, "Well, did he see you coming? No, he didn't. Sometimes I
Yeah.
wish he did.
Yeah.
I
I
enjoyed
don't
torching
know.
the shed though."
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's that feels like a Malazan conversation.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
Oh wait, there was that I one thing that stood out to me, and that was when these Marines were initially going to Silver Lake. So when they were approaching the town, Oams asks Spindle, like, or Spindle tells Oams to book a room in the eel or whatever, some inn, and
Yeah.
then Oams asks him, "Have you been here before?" And Spindle says no, but towards the end, we know that Rant recognizes Spindle, and for the knife, that means that Spindle has been there in Silver Lake before, right?
Because he does what?
No, Spindle says that he has never been to Silver Lake before, but
Yeah. Yeah.
from the end, we know that Rand goes and saves Spindle, and that was because Rand recognizes Spindle for
No.
for
No. No.
giving him
He
the knife.
recognizes. Sorry, I thought he recognized just the uniform. That he's
Oh,
a marine and he helped me, and some
Spindle's
marine helped me.
uniform is his hair shirt, no?
But then Ohms is with him. Ohms has a uniform, marine uniform.
I got the impression that Rand saved him because Spindle was the guy who gave him the knife.
Okay, I did not think of that way, because I thought he just recognized them as Malazan Marines and went to help them. Maybe
Yeah,
wouldn't
that.
he wear some armor over the hair shirt? Do you think he goes to battle and things like that with just the hair shirt?
Well, no. Uh, yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. It just stood out to me because because here on one hand Spindle denies it, but from what I assumed, Spindle was there in Silver Lake, so it didn't make sense to me. But yeah, your explanation probably the answer.
I mean, I read that bit today, so
Yeah. So yeah, did anyone else from those squads stand out or anything else that you guys want to talk about?
I
Well, we
think
did talk a bit about Benger earlier. Mora wanted to say
Uh,
something, yes?
no, I wanted to ask Ro about Drill Bent, because he liked Drill Bent because he was so exasperated with the squad, just like just like Ro was.
yeah, that guy was silent. He did his shit. no bullshit. So
Yeah.
yeah, points to him.
No, I think there was one sweet moment when Folibor says bye to Stillwater when the flood is coming up.
Hmm.
But I didn't expect that. He just holds her face and tells her that it's been a sweet pleasure or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
that hit me. Yeah.
yeah, I thought there was something going on between Stillwater and Oams, because I don't know, they kind of hated each other, which is usually how these relationships start. Like you hate them, and then you try to annoy them, and then suddenly you're in love with them. And I thought that was kind of the direction those two were gonna, Steve was gonna take for those two, but yeah,
Mhm.
it didn't turn out that way.
So you were shipping Ohms and Stillwater. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I did not think of that because Stillwater is a bit, I don't know, she's a bit beyond all these things. But Folibor having this extra concern about her and telling her to, use her warren and get away and all that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, I did
But
my
she's not a
impression
mage.
of. Hmm?
But Stillwater's not a mage. What Warren? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Daint is
Uh,
the one, after he reaches the shadow warren and then he looks around and says, what? When did Stillwater become a mage? Yeah. So there are some
yeah.
dumb heavies mixed with people like So Bleak and the others.
Yeah.
But
So
there was something odd about their language, isn't it? The heavies suddenly they start talking.
They are extremely verbose. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What changed? What happened? I don't know. Did we miss something in the middle?
no, I guess it's just an act, and they're just used to it that it comes to them naturally, and suddenly when shit gets real, when the flood is coming down on them, they gain their senses and they act normal again. I think that's probably it.
No, their whole this whole thing is ominous and portentous and all those stuff. And then
Well,
Gruff when is explaining something at the end. Do you guys remember? He asks, "I can explain this. Do you want me to tell you in the normal language, or do you want me to talk the heavy language?"
he's probably just making fun. I think
Yeah,
at
and
least
then
that's.
he goes on. He goes on with this extremely verbose sentence. I couldn't. I don't know. I'll
Yeah, I
share it
remember what
sometime.
you're talking about. I remember
Yeah,
that, but yeah, it's I don't know. He's just making fun.
maybe. Yeah. Lee, do you want to tell us about Gruff? We're here to listen.
Well, I don't remember very much from Gruff. Like, for one, he's a treasure because of the whole darlings thing. I just love the darlings thing. I'm sorry. Uh, a man that throws another man like 10 feet into a wall and sends him comatose, and the first thing he's concerned about is if he broke a nail, is just
Exactly.
a man after my own heart. Um, and he also clearly knows more than he's letting on because, of course, he does. So there is a conversation in that aforementioned conversation between Bliss and Spindle. Bliss really just goes like, "So Gruff is, yeah, he is. So no
No,
worries about
Gruff.
Gruff. No, not at all."
Yeah, yeah,
And before the whole thing goes down with the flood and the Marines and the magic and stuff, Gruff puts on a Tataral Holberg, I think, like
yeah.
laces his arm with a Tataral. So there's that, and there's also a lot of talk of claws, and Oams is a claw, Oams is a claw. I'm not a fucking claw. To the point where like, well, someone has to be the claw here, right? Like, are they just making up shit about who's a claw for fun? Now there is a claw that we know of in this book, which is
Mm,
Ohms, obviously. But
mm,
but
No.
Gruff, but Gruff, yeah, Gruff. I'm not saying Gruff's a claw necessarily. I don't think he is, but he probably is in cahoots with either Sevet or like even higher, like Malik or Topper. If Topper is even the claw master still, which I don't know, because I could hit Rafa as I'm gonna ask. So beyond the obvious hilarious antics of everyone has them, Gruff is just like extremely campy and he embraces it.
Yeah.
Uh, he clearly knows more than he's letting on,
mm.
and he is also a much stronger, better soldier than he is. And by the way, he would actually be like the third effeminate claw that we know of. So if there's one, it might as well be him.
Mhm. Yeah, that's yeah.
And
Mm.
I just love that he calls his soldiers his darlings. Like that's it. I don't want much else. I want to be Gruff's darling. That's it.
Uh,
Oh,
so
that's so
wait,
sweet.
in that AMA, you asked something about rail, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Is
What
And
was
Rail a
that?
I got
claw?
hit with Raffo.
What?
I asked
Really?
if Rail's a claw and if she's directly reporting to Sevet, and he just told me we can find out.
You
And then I
included
asked
three
if
questions in a single question.
Yes. And then I
So,
asked if Topper's a Clawmaster. I include like 4 in another question. I asked if Topper's a Clawmaster,
hmm.
and if he is, does that mean that the Black Glove has been integrated into the Claw? And if not, does that mean like factionalism has taken over the Claw and he's been deposed? So like I've included like 10 different questions in the 5 of them. So yeah,
So no wonder you got hit with Raffles.
yeah, across the
Yeah.
board.
You could have just
That's
made
great.
some alts and, put one question each, right? So we still don't know who is the claw there. And your guess is Gruff, which sort of makes sense.
I mean, my guess is Rail because Rail is like pretty much shown directly reporting to Sevet at some point,
Yeah, I think Rail too. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
She
me
was
too.
sent by Sevet. So,
Yeah.
if there should be a Claw, it's probably like the most obvious candidate here would be Rail. But the way they're talking about Gruff in like shaking their head and like he is,
that
yeah, he is. Or
I took that to mean that, Gruff is the one without any magical abilities.
why would they care about that?
Because whether to include him in the fight or keep him separate or whatever, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
he's like the captain. He gets to decide who's included in the fight.
I mean, they have some magical abilities. So if he's going to go around, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. No, yeah, right.
Hmm.
Oams, are you guys sure that Oams doesn't have any sorcery powers or anything? Because he is favored by Tangle Witch, so there has to be something going on
By
there.
Rose, by giant Cloud
Our
Woman.
Rose, yeah, yeah, sure, Rose.
Yeah, I think the fact that he was favored by Rose or whoever that was, I think that was the compensation he needed for not, for not being a mage in that group. Like, it puts him at an equal power level with the rest, and it to me it was something that confirmed that he was not a mage.
Okay.
Because if he was a mage and if he also had that spirit, he would be overpowered. And I think he would, if he had been a mage, he would have definitely used it when he was escaping with Spindle towards the end.
Oh, but by that time he was completely gone, isn't it? He had a
Yeah,
concussion.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't think he's a mage.
Hmm. Right, we'll have to
So
rough.
Yeah.
oh yeah, we forgot about Balk and his mercenary company.
Right, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I was a bit underwhelmed, at least in this reread, about the whole mercenary thing.
Like
Yeah.
everything happens off screen, man. It's so sad.
Sorry.
Everything happens off screen with them. Like
Uh huh.
they talk about like assaulting the Marines and like we were like 400, they were 50, and they fucked us or something. And it's like, yeah, but can we see that, please?
No, what we're seeing is the consequence of that stand, isn't it? No, but did you like it? How did you find it, Ro?
Um, I guess I too found it underwhelming because I thought there was more to the person who hired them, and
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it would lead back to Malik himself, but it turned out to be Lord Castnog, and that was like, oh, that's it. And I don't know, I because in the middle of the book, Bok says something along the lines of, if I told you who hired me, you would not believe it. And that screams someone from the Malazan Empire itself.
Mm,
And who would be a bigger uh, surprise than Malik himself, because that would ensure that Malik also had some other field agents that no one else was aware of. So it could have created a scenario where he was playing another game, but then it ended up being just Kasnak and him wanting the company to guide them across the empire's lands. So yeah, that was underwhelming, and yeah, I was expecting more from Balk himself as an individual. I thought he would personally be involved in some action, but he wasn't. So yeah, let's see. Maybe he's still alive, so maybe there's still more to his story in the future.
Allow me to inform you of the total body count incurred during our engagement with 50 Marines. 319 dead, 79 wounded, and of those, only 10 able to fight again, ever. So this ties back, I think, to the indestructibleness of the Marines and the fact that we didn't
Yeah.
actually get to see any of this. Like, okay, first of all, how the fuck does he have 1,000 mercenaries under his command while Seven is like a few kilometers down, a few leagues that way, and nobody cares? Like, okay, yeah, this guy with like 1,000 mercenaries under his command in Malazan territory fighting Malazans, and nobody cares apparently. So there's I hesitate to believe that there's nothing like Malik is not involved in this somehow.
Sorry, what?
The fact that there's like 1,000 mercenaries within Malazan territory fighting Malazans and like nobody decides to intervene at all kind of says to me that maybe there's something with the Imperials going on.
Right? Yeah.
Can I just say that we have all read the same book, and you guys have put Malik front and center in your reading because I did not think of him at all. Unless he's
To
mentioned
be
on page.
fair, to be
Yeah,
fair to Cam and Steve, they've not put Malik on the forefront at all since Return of the Crimson Guard.
yeah.
It's kind of like how Karsa is in this book. The same is true of like Malik in The Not Me,
No,
where
it's like how Lassine was in the earlier books.
that's also true. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
No, in the sense I'm not consciously thinking of how much Malik has been involved here or not. Whereas you guys have a lot of thoughts about.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I mean, it was because of
Fascinating.
Lassine. We
Okay.
like we he was not at the forefront initially, and we ended up figuring out that a lot of things that were happening, all of them, she was regulating them from afar.
Hmm.
So I thought that the same thing could apply to Malik.
Okay.
Yeah, like like even the whole split, the bridge burners splitting, the mutiny, they're not part of the empire anymore. The whole
Yeah, yeah.
the facade or whatever they did to gain the alliance with Brood and Drake and all that. Everything was Lassine behind the scenes, so she was
So
involved. And likewise, it made sense to me that even though he's not on page, the merciful savior of the realm was probably
yeah.
involved here as
Now
well.
you watch it there, buddy.
What?
You watch it there, buddy. Okay, no. But one thing that caught my eye in this book, which Erickson more or less like shot down, is Malik's Rel's fifth edict. Malazan justice does not stop at the grave's edge. Because to me, that's shout. I am going to tear down everybody who wronged me. Like Coltane, fuck him, traitor. Lassine, traitor. Kellenbit, traitor. Fucking anyone who's dead or not present to
Lanbit.
defend themselves can now be posthumously charged for whatever the fuck Malik wants because he isn't like he's not going to use propaganda to further his goals. Steve kind of shot that idea down, which in hindsight makes sense because he needs legitimacy. Like, yeah, I'm the emperor, but like the emperors before me, they sucked, and fuck them, and fuck the empire they created, like spanning three continents. Oh, that was crap. I'm gonna be way better. Watch me. Um, and it also ties into the whole discussion I had once with Mora about the differences between Malik the Gistal and Malik the Emperor, Malik the Merciful.
Yeah.
But I still fucking hate the guy. That's not gonna change over a single book. So
Especially when he's not there at all.
yeah, that's true. But I think there's clearly something there with the Claw or with Bulk or whoever the fuck the Claw Master is. Like, hello, can I know, please? And given the things we see in NLF, I think it'll be much more clear by the end of No Life Forsaken. I hope.
Speaking of NLF, that excerpt,
Yeah.
well, uh, I don't know.
Yes.
There wasn't a
Yes.
whole lot of yeah. What?
Yeah. I thought you were happy about it. Yeah.
Mora is ready to thirst over Jalan again.
Oh God.
Uh,
Oh.
there wasn't.
You didn't let me have a go at Gruff. Let me at least have Jalan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What about the excerpt, bro? Did you like it or not?
I mean, this is not enough to
Hmm.
say that okay, this is awesome. This is or this sucks, or it's just a little bit, just a teaser, just to hint at what's coming, and that's about it. And although the one interesting reveal over there was the presence of the adjunct and his bodyguard, and that is like something new. This is the first time we are seeing an adjunct. We've seen Tavor, we've seen Lon, we've seen Kyle, and all of them are their own. They wield the sword, but this time he
Yes.
has a bodyguard who is who, and I think those two are in love or something. He calls him beloved, or unless he's
Yeah.
like Gruff, I don't know. It was just one. There was just one scene, so I can't make any conclusion. But that was an interesting thing. And this leads me to believe that the adjunct might be a mage. What do you
Yeah.
think?
This is the conclusion which most of us are leaning towards. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
except for me because I'm a contrarian.
No.
so yeah,
So yeah, I found it very interesting. that even Malik decides to have an adjunct and who can't wield an oratorial sword and all that, because I found it very interesting. I don't know, even if nothing much comes of it.
Yeah, the guy reminded me of Lorne more than Tabor because he was, he was not well informed. The fist clearly outsmarted him. The guy was the adjunct was he was reacting to things,
Yeah,
and he was surprised at the revelations the fist was, uh, you know, putting forth.
yeah.
So that kind of took me back to Lorne rather than Tabor, who was remarkably well informed.
I think
So yeah,
we talked about this with more in our episode about how like Jalan and Inkaras are both locked in a pissing contest, and at
mm,
the very end, like Jalan pisses as far as it Admiral Sea or something. That's what I said. So yeah, I don't know if the Tavor analogy is fair here because Tavor is even before she became adjunct, she was like in the talent, inducted properly. She was a student of Imperial history. This
mm.
guy, from the little that we do know, he's from some unremarkable Jakartan fishing family
Island.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
So
He was in Napan, right?
He was an Apan origin Malaz Island.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
See, I felt that was a reflection on Jalan rather than something to do with his drawbacks. It was to boost Jalan's what do you call image in our eyes rather than
yeah,
to put this guy down. So
Yeah,
that's the way I saw it.
yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
and he does mention something like the emperor is not very forthcoming with information and all that.
he's
So
very terse.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So the whole Kalam killing the claws and things like that was a big reveal to him, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. That's what I said. He was not informed.
Yeah. So
So yeah. What else do we have to discuss?
um,
Mm.
what other marine stood out? Annex Row under creature. I really don't want to talk about it. No,
Oh, really,
I just want to say that it's there, and I don't want to talk about it.
really.
Yes, Lee. Really? What do you have?
I'm
Do
not.
you have something?
I'm not going to question you further on this because clearly you don't want to talk about it. But okay.
Did I? Did I say something? What happened?
No, it's like you seem to have a personal issue with creature and like annex.
Oh my god. Okay, first of all, I hate tiny creatures like that, tiny furry rodents. I can't stand them. And then she puts it in her shirt, which is I can't think of anything grosser than that. So yeah, did you like it? Did you people enjoy having this
I think it
image
was
of
funny.
creature? It was funny. Okay,
I mean,
right.
I don't know. I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, I think Annex and Still were like great together, and creature was somehow more sane than Stillwater. So yeah,
You know what I really liked? Alex is this tobacco chewing girl, isn't it? And when
I
they
think so. Yeah.
say, yeah, some of the Tableau children, I think one girl starts stuffing her mouth with grass to
Yeah.
imitate her, which
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense, isn't it? That's what kids do.
Mm. Yeah.
And does she invent what is that invention she does? Is
Iron
it
Maw.
Yeah, I don't know.
the iron? Is it just a gun or is it like a cannon or I don't
I
have
think
a no.
so.
I mean, it blows away a guy, up to his knees. I mean, this is just two legs standing. Uh,
Uh, I
I
think
don't know.
it's similar to a cannon, except for a cannonball. I mean, instead of a cannonball, it's probably a munition or something.
Hmm. And then at the end, she decides that she can't set up the stand and she has to hold it in hand or something. But she doesn't end up using it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I
she
think so.
doesn't.
Yeah. So it's fired only once, right?
Mm. And speaking of the tabloid children, and there was the other scene where some of the tabloid they were so moved by what the Marines did for them, and that they
Yeah.
were like, we want to be Marines too. I mean,
Yeah.
like, think about it. The Marines who are already indestructible, now you're adding a squad with 4 tabloid in them and gods
Isn't that
below.
isn't that awesome? I liked it.
Yeah, they're gonna be
We,
unbeatable.
no,
I
And
don't
seriously,
know if
like I don't know what. Oh, yeah. What is it, Lee?
I don't know if I endorsed like this whole like a part of me feels off, which should say a lot because I'm the guy that like said that the call was necessary and all that shit. Like the Malazans are not in any story so far, even like the Book of the Fallen, in which they were treated very preferentially. They were never this self righteous and like this good. And Malik isn't the saint by any stretch of the imagination, and it doesn't feel like this sort of direction of how the like empire should be treated by especially like peoples who they have fought in the past, who they've conquered. Is like it it's off. And yeah, okay, sure, I've made a post on this before. When I like my last part of like the Lacine essay, I talked about this how Malik is essentially bringing the empire into a newer age of uh, well, to real life history would correlate to the Enlightenment of like an increase of personal freedoms, more liberty, more like social movement, more stuff like that. But Nif the other day brought up a very interesting point in that Malik's empire is often called the late Malazan Empire.
Yeah.
And the word late implies that whoever is writing about it is writing about it at a point in time in which the Malazan Empire no longer exists,
Hmm.
Yeah.
which is really interesting. But
Yeah. Because
for the
yeah.
most part, like it feels off, and the reason it feels off to me, I think, is the I mentioned Kamensaw for a reason, and that's because I do think there is a metatextual narrator here. That might be Rant. I think Rant is one of the perspectives through which we read this book from a metatextual, like cropping for the hounds, right?
Hmm.
His perspective is skewing events even when he's not on page. I think that's kind of what might be going on here because the self righteousness feels very off in the span of 10 years compared to what it was back then. And like,
Yeah, because if it was Rand who was the narrator, he obviously has a high impression of the
yeah, because of like
Malazans.
the knife thing,
Yeah,
because yeah, and so
yeah,
it would make sense for him to be happy about them. And unlike Kamen Sword, he's not obligated in any means to tell a truthful story. Nor would he be able to tell a truthful story because he's not been there to witness the events. And he's far too young to understand the minutiae of like why people do what they do. So of course, to him, it would make sense if they're just good because that's how things are. They're good because they're good because
yeah. When
they're
you put it
Malazan
this way,
Marines,
yeah, makes sense.
right? So Stillwater, who is a murderer, looks very nice to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, this also ties into that point I brought up regarding Shadow Throne's
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna
grasp
bring that
or
up next. Yep, yep.
so yeah, as we had as we most certainly have a different narrator in for this book. I believe that Shadow Throne's trademark giggle, which was peculiarly it was absent in this book, and it was replaced with a rasping laugh, which was like it stood out for Shadow Throne because we are all like so used to him giggling, and I believe that that reason is solely because of the change in narrator, and it's not because Shadow Throne laughed differently or anything. What
Yeah.
are you trying to imitate him or something?
He has a cough. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he had like a cold. Maybe Shadow gets cold at some point in time, and he got something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
so
like, yeah, the way he would giggle and make a rasping laugh is very, very different. I don't think it's just like
yeah,
he's laughing differently.
Yeah. It was quite sinister to to read Shadowthrone here compared to
yeah,
what we read him before.
yeah. And back then, because it was Camensod, to him, Shadow Throne would have been a junior or something. Like he wouldn't have had a reason to fear Shadow Throne. Like the
Yeah.
same way, let's say the three of us see a 10-year-old boy throwing a stone at a dog. To us, the boy is, we don't have to be frightened of the boy.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
the dog, the boy's like he's terrorizing his entire world. So likewise, Camensod wouldn't have any reason to be afraid of Shadow Throne. But whoever the narrator is here, maybe they're not at the same level as Camensod, and they are in terms of power levels or something. They're probably below Shadow Throne, and to them, they're able to see the sinister side to Shadow Throne's laugh, whereas Camensod just saw a young godling probably trying to poke his head around, do something, scheme, and all that. So I think Shadow Throne's laugh is the only reason why it's different is because of the change or the difference in interpretation by the narrator, where the new narrator for this Witness trilogy thinks he interprets the same laugh in a more as he seems to think that it conveys a sense of uh, Shadow Throne being malicious, whereas Camensaw just thought it was mischief and madness. So yeah, that was I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But there is no framing yet for the witness, isn't it?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it would make sense if Rant was the narrator.
Yeah.
And Rand somehow got that account from Stillwater. I don't know. Whatever. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah.
um,
So yeah, do you guys have any predictions or anything for the remaining books? What do you think NLF would be about, or what do you think might happen in the next one? Or any ideas?
I don't know. I just know that Karsa is not in the next one, and there is a big scene building up with Karsa for the third book, and
Yeah.
at least he's going to appear at least there. But I hope he is still unwilling due to indecision because he's not able to decide which way to go, to embrace his worshippers or to reject ascendancy and things like that. I don't know, he's probably just stuck, being unable to make a decision, and we're going to see a confused Karsa is what I think. You guys?
Um, there was this scene with Grant where he thinks about Karsa and he's like, he will, the day he finally stands in front of Karsa, he's gonna ask him, if you hadn't been chained, if you hadn't been shipped off to seven cities, would you have atoned for the things you did?
Yeah.
And based on what Karsa says, Rant will decide what he's gonna do, whether he's gonna fight or whether he's gonna kill Karsa or whether he's gonna, probably kneel or something to his war leader. I don't know, but I don't know. Regardless of what happens, I think, as was written back in the day in the language of the Asatanai, there will be peace some way or another.
How do you know that? Where does it come
Yeah,
from?
it's the first line in Carcanos.
Yeah, okay, you said the first line, right? I
Yeah, I
thought
just
it's
opened the book.
mentioned somewhere else. Okay.
There
Yeah.
will be peace.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, do we have anything else to talk about?
Lee, do you have a prediction for Karsa?
Oh boy, for Karsa,
Or rather, the
Or
rest of
in
the
general?
series?
I went on record a while ago about saying that I think it will be very difficult to reconcile Rand's story and Karsa's story, and I can't really see a way in which Rand and Karsa meeting could be made satisfying. Because okay, yeah, say he kills him, then what? Or say he doesn't kill him, then what? Because the intense trauma that Rand has and is carrying, because based on his experiences with Starless and being his mother and the legacy of his father, is very, very difficult to reconcile, especially given Carr's suspension to be, well, himself, not be openly repentant about, oh yeah, I did all those things, I'm sorry. And it's like, he might be sorry, but I don't really see reconciliation between them being necessarily possible.
Wait, does
Uh,
Karsa know Rant exists?
I have no idea, which is another interesting thing, which I mean, I assume he does because,
I
well,
assume he does
his
too. Yeah. He's in
daughters
the
came
same
along.
continent.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And aren't they linked somehow? We mentioned they were linked earlier.
Yeah, but
Uh,
Starless,
it's
Rand, and
a
Corsa.
under the surface link, I believe. I don't think it's like, they're aware this is going on.
Hmm.
yeah, and
Karsa
and
could be aware. Because, sorry, yeah, Ro.
and Delasfana and Tonitagra certainly did not know, so they couldn't have told Karsa. That's what I wanted to say.
Hmm.
Right.
But since No Life Forsaken is taking place on like a whole another continent, exploring different things, different characters, I don't know because there's not that many characters from Karsa's past left in Seven Cities. Like who is there exactly?
Felicin, younger.
Save for Felicin, who could be like 10 years later still Shake reborn, there's not really anyone else because Leomund's gone. Leomund's not there anymore. Shake's dead. Uh,
Yeah, maybe Leuven
Torvald is
comes
back
back.
in Trinabakis. Maybe Leomund comes back. Okay, sure. Maybe. But I somehow doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
Like, I do kind of want to see Leomund come back, if only for Dunsparrow to come back, but I
What?
don't know.
I don't know. Should we talk about Lorik?
What happens to Lorik?
Lorik is
No, Lorik is in the
busy.
Dramatis of Blood and Bone, so please don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
But
I seriously, I don't remember anything.
Lorik and Karsa didn't really interact very much, I don't think.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
even think Lorik was on his list. Like, when he
wait.
returned to House. Yeah, go on.
No, from Steve's episode in in this podcast, he said that there was a new squad and
Yeah,
they would
yeah, Seven
be
Cities.
yeah, they would be crazier than what we've already
Yeah,
seen.
yeah. I legit, I thought about Ro, and I was imagining him sighing at hearing this.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. It was fine this time. I was sort of annoyed the first time, but because we are being unfair with these new Marines, we have to give them some time. We have to warm up,
Hmm.
and it's going to be fun when we see them back in the third book. But the more we are talking, I'm starting to believe Lee saying that this could be 4 books. But I don't want 4 books. I want Walk in Shadow.
Well, same, but Walk in Shadow might as well be 4 books too. Well, not Walk in Shadow itself, but Kirkanos
Yeah,
as a whole.
Mm,
So who knows? We'll see.
yeah.
yeah.
That marks
Anything
the end of
more?
my prediction because I don't really think there's very much same on. I don't know, especially if we don't revisit Rand in the next book. I don't know how he's going to pay off the story in 3 books.
I can't think of anything that that can take place in NLF. I have no idea what might happen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just Garza's legacy in Seven Cities. What is there?
I
Ah,
don't know. Like
There's Summer, but
Summer,
Summer's with Garza now, so it's not even Summer.
Summer
Maybe
Day.
maybe there's like worship of Toblagai in Seven Cities, but I somehow doubt that as well because of Coltane.
uh,
Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
let's just maybe think about Garza's journey. Like he goes to Seven Cities. The first thing he does when he lands there is to meet Urko, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then he goes
Arcot.
to Erlitan. He gets chained again. That's when he meets Leomen and he parts ways with Nom of Nom. And and then he goes to Shaik. And then he stays there for 2 years or something. And then he fucks off to Jagodan to get his horse. Right? Did I miss anything?
And
yeah.
he meets Sinigig, and
Yeah,
on the
those two.
way he shoves aside these two, isn't it? Trull and
On Rack and Troll,
Onrak
yeah.
and Trull. Mm.
And then he comes back and then he says Malazans aren't my enemy anymore, and then he goes off
Yeah,
again and he
yeah,
fights a freaking Kichain Naruk.
yeah. And
And
before that, he kills 2 Hounds of Shadow, isn't it?
oh
I
yeah,
am
yeah, yeah.
decidedly
The Terror God.
unimpressed from that. I am sorry. I am decidedly unimpressed.
With the Naruk fight or the
Both. Like, okay, yeah, he kills 2 hounds of darkness and like a short tail. Doesn't even break a sweat. Okay,
He
nice.
do not say that. That Naruk fight was quite justified. Yeah, it was
He
not like he didn't
breaks
break a sweat
a
and all.
lot of sweats. Fine.
I don't know, his scalp is torn, his back is ripped apart or something. He's quite
And then he
injured.
just walks it off. Like, yeah, nothing important happened there. I'm
He
leaving.
has fast healing.
What? I mean, I wish he had used his sword at least,
Yes,
because
thank you.
He
he
threw it
somehow
away.
manages to, yeah, somehow he manages to just beat the creature with his bare fists. That was a little, it felt a little exaggerated.
But then I don't know. Maybe the Naruk skin is that thick, impenetrable. Flint swords
Yeah.
cannot harm it. Maybe. Oh, but yeah, we do see them later on, isn't it? So,
Yeah, but the
But yeah,
Daragod
after
fight.
that,
Hmm?
yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, regarding the fight with the Daragod, that didn't, I was okay with that because that was the moment when Karsa got his powers. He got a horse, he got his sword. In a way, it's like leveling up in a game. So that's when you're feeling all good, feeling confident. So he comes out and takes out everyone. Birital, the other
yeah,
guy
yeah.
whose name starts with F, I don't know.
The
Uh,
no
Yeah.
Frey,
Silgar, isn't it?
yeah, Birital,
He kills
Silver, and the
Silver too.
Fael, Fabril, or
Oh,
someone.
yeah, 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 right.
Febril Fayel's the other guy, the other girl.
Yeah,
Febril's the guy who
yeah.
he breaks his spine like a twig over his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is that was Karsa's day or Karsa's night. So whatever he did that day, I'm fine with that.
I'm willing to forgive that, but like wrestling in a rook with bare hands, like okay, fine, dude, okay.
Yeah, that
And
was a little.
the thing is, it's not like Karsa is a dumbass in this book. Like in the Bone Hunters, he's smart enough to know better. Like in Rebirth Gale, he breaks Asagula's wrists by unbalancing her and bashing her with a fucking sword with a flint sword as a bigger sword. He kills Rule at once.
Hmm.
He's smart enough to know better than just to go and wrestle a bear with bare hands because fuck it, I'm indestructible.
Doesn't he like go and capture what do you call it, a veteran by himself? He
Yeah,
asks someone for help and then she refuses, so he just says witness and then he does it himself.
yeah.
So I don't know. He
And
knows
I
he
don't
can
like
take
that
Naruk
part of his
down.
character.
Yeah, what can I say?
So
It's the
yeah,
same problem Roe has with the Marines. Like he's indestructible, and it feels like there's no stakes.
I don't know. I find it believable in Karsa's case because he is more or less an ascendant, and he was on the path all the during the Book of the Fallen itself. So
Yeah,
I am okay with it.
yeah.
after
But
all
yeah,
of this happens, right? The Bedouin thing and the gets taken to leather and fights the guys there, and we didn't talk about that at all because we had a lot of things to talk about.
what? I couldn't hear you. What?
The whole thing with Ublala and the leather thing,
Yeah.
the Carlton all there, we didn't talk about that at all. So yeah,
Ublala coming back to Karsa, that prediction.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I just said, it's just something I would like to see, and what I said was, if Steve wanted to bring that plot line to the forefront in this trilogy, in this trilogy, I think that there is a way for him to do that, and that is through the wow, or rather not wow, the command that Karsa gives Ublala.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just think there's a way for him to do it without it seeming far-fetched. That's it.
So right, so we just conclude that we are absolutely clueless about where the
Yeah, I
series
have
is
no
going
idea.
and
We don't
what's
know.
going
It's
to
not like it
happen.
has a massive legacy in 7 cities that isn't already explored.
Yeah.
So I got nothing.
So again, we'll be saying bye to this squad and Rand and the rest till the third
Woe is
book at
me.
least.
Yeah.
Right. So should we wind up? You guys have any closing thoughts?
I'll spare you my closing thoughts, otherwise we'll never finish. I've learned my lesson by now.
Aro?
Well, I don't know. This book was really good. I enjoyed reading it. It was definitely different. It was easier to read compared to any of the books in the Book of the Fallen, and I'm hoping that NLF comes out soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Let's see where it goes. Right.
Hmm.
So thank you, Ro. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah,
This has been a lot of fun, and I can't
It
believe
was a
that
blast, yeah.
yeah, it's become a two-parter episode, isn't it? For such a
yeah.
short book.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. I had no idea. I had no idea what to expect, but it turned out to be amazing. Last few hours, it was really good.
Yeah. Lee,
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thanks for joining
Yeah.
us today.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Ro.
So,
yeah. Thank you, Lee.
good night, both of you.
So until next time,
All right.
we'll catch you next
Goodbye.
time. This has been Smileys, and goodbye.
Bye bye.